Hello to all of you viewers of Equinoxe Television, 6 p.m. in Boya in the Southwest region. It's time for the news. We thank you so much for joining us tonight. Our major stories this evening. Catholic priests continue in conscientizing Cameroonians to fight for change at the helm of the state, especially after the 2025 presidential election. After the Catholic bishops of Yagua, Gaundere, and also that of the Archdiocese of Douala, it's now the turn of Jesuit priest Reverend Father Lado Ludovic, who thinks the old have been ruling the country for a very long time now, and it's time for youth in Cameroon to govern the nation. We will be telling you more in this news edition. Also in this edition, we will take you to Boya, where the local population is decrying the deplorable state of the roads in that town. Viewers, those are our major stories. Details in just a moment. Welcome back, viewers. Thank you so much for the confidence. We begin with one of our big stories. After the bishops of Yagua, that of Gaundere, and also the outing of the Archbishop of the Douala Archdiocese, His Grace Samuel Kleda, asking or demanding for change in the country, the Roman Catholic Jesuit priest Ludovic Lado followed the move somehow. In a video circulating on social media, the Jesuit priest says that the old people have been governing the country for a long time now, and they have failed, and it's time for the youth to take over the nation. Let's now have more with Cedric Chakutu.
Reverend Father Ludovic Lado, an influential figure in Cameroon, has expressed his anger following the message of President Paul Biya to the nation. In a video circulating on social media, the priest joins his voice to those of the Gaundere and Yagua archbishops demanding for change in the country.
2025 sera l'année des élections présidentielles dans notre pays. Et c'est une occasion, c'est une opportunité que Dieu nous donne pour sauver notre pays gravement malade.
To the Jesuit priests, these old men governing the country are clinging to power and refusing to give way to the youth.
Après 42 ans de pouvoir du régime RDPC, notre pays est dans un état piteux.
Father Ludovic Lado castigates a corrupt political system that no longer meets the aspiration of Cameroonians.
Croulant et inconscient, notre pays est devenu la risée du monde.
Roman Catholic Jesus priest Ludovic Lado calls on Cameroonians to take their responsibility in 2025 during the next elections. He says,
saisissons donc les échéances de 2025 et puis de 2026.
It is time to put an end to this regime that is plundering our country and mortgaging its future. Reverend Father Lado goes on by calling on the youth who go to church or to mosque, prays to ask to obtain a visa to move out of the country, to remain here and fight for change.
Vous qui inondez nos églises, nos chapelles, nos mosquées, assidus à la prière, et souvent en quête d'un miracle pour changer votre vie. Le Cameroun est le seul pays que Dieu nous a donné. Et il sait pourquoi il nous a fait naître et grandir dans ce pays. C'est pour une mission divine qu'il nous invite à accomplir dans ce pays et pas ailleurs. Vos vies ne changeront que quand ce pays aura changé. Et pour que ce pays change, il faut que chacun d'entre vous s'engage politiquement.
The question of a new political class is at the heart of debate as the next elections approach.
And registration has already begun, so go and register if you have not yet registered on the electoral lists. Now let's take you to Boya. The people of the Southwest, especially those in Boya, have been reacting differently to President Paul Biya's emphasis on maintaining a one and indivisible Cameroon. While some think President Paul Biya is acting on the dictates of his constitutional duties, others think it is just because he has not yet been hit hard by the Anglophone crisis. Rex Afon tells us more from Boya.
Will remain one and indivisible.
The re-echoing of the indivisibility of the state of Cameroon by President Paul Biya while talking about the crisis in the northwest and southwest regions is considered to be statements from a man who has not been hard hit by the conflict.
I think since the crisis started, he has barely shifted from that position. And I think he's little hit by the crisis. Maybe that's why. For those of us in the southwest, and the Northwest, greatly affected by this crisis. We are wondering why such a position.
To some inhabitants of Buea, it is the duty of the head of state to protect the form of the state.
He made Cameroon as a united Republic of Cameroon. Though he changed it in a constitutional decree to Republic of Cameroon, it is his duty to maintain that Cameroon remains one and indivisible.
The current position of the government is being likened to that of some biblical figures who wanted to have their way by all means.
You can compare the measures of the Cameroon government with that of one king in the Bible, Nebuchadnezzar. When he was angry, he handled the crisis carelessly. That resulted to casualties he did not even realize would occur. You remember when he said everybody should worship him, and if anybody doesn't worship him, those people will be thrown into the furnace of fire. And in his anger, he asked his men to hit the fire 7 times more. And what was the effect of that decision? Even the soldiers who carried his victims to throw in the fire died. They lost their life.
Cameroonians have been advised to look out for other options during this year's presidential elections if they are not satisfied with the current administration.
If Cameroonians want to change, if we don't want this kind of unity decentralized state, then maybe it's time for us to vote someone else who's going to preach something to us. Cameroon's development is snail-paced. I think Mr. Biya himself earmarked that. Elections are upcoming, and if Cameroonians think that this is not the kind of state they want, then of course you vote somebody who proposes something else to Cameroonians.
For years now, the form of the state has been an unavoidable subject. Still, the government maintains its recognition of only a one and indivisible Cameroon.
We stay with you, Rex. In Buea, you tell us that the town is facing serious problems at the level of its road network. Secondary roads that were recently constructed have all become shadows of themselves, affecting fluidity of movement within the town of Buea. You visited the Muya or the Buea and Muya neighborhoods, the Buea town and Muya neighborhoods. You tell us more in the report that comes up next.
This is Buea, a town that in recent years has been facing serious challenges in its road infrastructure.
The roads are not sufficient for the users. You can see from Moleko to Buea town, they are using one main lane, and the few sub-roads that we have, they are not well developed. You can see the road from Campaign Street to Buea town. The road is very bad, and vehicles are not able to ply through that road efficiently, because many of them will feel that it will spoil their vehicles because there are no tar. There are large areas of portions that tar is not occupying.
The dilapidated nature of the roads, especially around Uenya Emongo, going towards Buea town, has forced many taxis to avoid using it. This has made some inhabitants to trek long distances to their houses.
Here in Buea town, some roads that vehicles are not passing. If you are going to Central Market, there is a road there that is very bad. Vehicles are not going there. Buea town, even slaughterhouse, you stand at the box. I know that most people will not try to climb up here. We must check from box to Buea to slaughterhouse. On the stretch from Muya to Bitingi, around the Central Market, the situation is no better.
Me, myself, I always drive for the road. We don't tell complain. So, the same go see me go Buea. We tell some customers, say, the same guy book. The guy book go, why reach you don't know. At the end, they will not get no changes.
For these sufferings to cease, the competent authorities, notably those of the Buea municipality, will have to consider the precarious state of some roads within the town and take urgent measures to address them.
Douala, the economic capital city, now shows its ugly face somehow. After the beauty of the festive season, the streets of most neighborhoods are now littered with waste material and heap of garbage assembled in main junctions, a situation that is causing discomfort to the local population while exposing them to ill health. Our reporter Mala Glory now gives us a picture of the city of Douala after the Christmas and New Year celebrations.
Major roads and street corners in the city of Douala, littoral region, are currently marked by indiscriminate refuse dump. This is the aftermath of the festive season. Inhabitants of Ndoxibi, one of the neighborhoods we visited, attributes the waste littering to the reluctant attitude of the company in charge of waste collection. She says the company is slow in collecting the trash and the situation makes them uncomfortable. From there, we moved to neighborhoods of Barrier Kamrai, where pedestrians can no longer walk freely. While traders at Pharmacila Mosque say the presence of the heap of garbage in their neighborhoods has adversely affected their business. They say some footpaths have been blocked by the waste, making it practically difficult for customers to pass through, while others complain the situation has affected their health. However, residents are called upon to take greater responsibility for their environment, while authorities are urged to reinforce measures for waste management in the city of Douala.
Now let's take you to the Northwest region, where the Northwest Regional Assembly has adopted its budget, which totals over 5 billion francs CFA for the year 2025. The process was, however, overshadowed by the absence of members of the House of Chiefs, who were reportedly protesting frustrations over the Assembly's functioning 4 years into its mandate. Let's have more with Nous. She's telling us from Bamenda.
The budgetary session of the Northwest Regional Assembly saw the adoption of over 5 billion aimed at addressing the region's development needs. The adoption of the budget was marked by the absence of the House of Chiefs, who allegedly staged a protest and declined to comment on the issue. Despite their absence, the budget was adopted by a majority of those present.
The deliberation that we took yesterday on the draft budget, which had a negative opinion from the House of Chiefs, was brought back to this House early today, and the House designated a team to go down and see the House of Chiefs.
Tensions were also high among participants, including several mayors who expressed frustrations over the Assembly's perceived lack of inclusiveness and effectiveness after 4 years in operation.
As we speak, my municipality is yet to benefit from any project from the Regional Assembly. But we'll find out, discover that projects keep on going to the same area, the same municipalities, year in, year out, to the dissatisfaction of the other municipalities.
While some mayors remain optimistic about the potential impact of the budget on their municipalities, concerns over the Assembly's efficiency persist.
The presence of the Regional Assembly is not yet felt at its optimum as we expected. We'll be appealing on the Regional Assembly to know that they should rather ask all the sub-divisional councils to submit to the Regional Assembly some priority-heavy projects that the sub-divisional councils cannot actually manage with the little resources that they may have.
As the Northwest Regional Assembly enters its 5th year, all eyes are on how the over 5 billion CFA budget is implemented and whether it will translate promises into tangible results.
In health, a health economist, Albert Zeh, has said the healthcare system in Cameroon is under threat because of the high shortage of health personnel. To him, President Paul Biya's plan of recruiting close to 10,000 health personnel in the next 5 years will not be able to resolve even one-third of the problem the sector is facing currently. It should be recalled that the Minister of Public Health, Dr. Manauda Malachi, had told lawmakers that the healthcare system in Cameroon is in need of close to 68,000 health workers to fill in the gap. Immaculate Fogwe has the details.
President Paul Biya, in his traditional end-of-year message, informs Cameroonians of plans which are underway to recruit 9,944 healthcare workers over the next 5 years. To him, the special recruitment initiative will significantly improve patient health. However, the number is quite insignificant to the 68,000 healthcare workers which is currently needed. Speaking to lawmakers while defending the Health Ministry's budget for the 2025 fiscal year, Minister Manauda Malachi acknowledged a deficit of 68,000 health personnel. To him, this shortage is posing a significant challenge to the healthcare system. He adds that the deficit includes over 2,000 doctors, highlighting the need for urgent measures to be taken. Speaking on phone, Dr. Albenze, a specialist in health economics, says the health sector in Cameroon is under threat.
Ce qu'il faut déjà savoir, c'est que recruter environ 10 000 personnels de santé.
From the president's outing, I think activities will soon become static in the healthcare sector. That is because for that number to be recruited, we have to wait for at least 35 years. If we have to wait for this long to resolve the problem of shortage of health personnel, that means the government is not willing to solve the problem.
Il existe donc pas ici véritablement une volonté.
He adds that if their working conditions are not improved upon, then we should expect the worst in the coming years.
Nous avons beaucoup de jeunes.
Unfortunately, a lot of people who have been trained prefer going out of the country because the working conditions there are much more better. Many others are at home jobless. This shortage has led to an overwhelming workload and stress, which has led to lack of motivation, resulting to fatigue and breakdowns. Apart from shortage in health personnel, outdated equipment and inadequate health facilities are some of the many challenges faced by the health system in Cameroon.
And economists decry what they qualify as a gap between economic figures presented by President Paul Biya in his message to the nation and their reality. Edmond Kouyaté thinks that the right way to read or analyze the economic situation of Cameroon is from the impact perspective. Babila Jonathan reports.
As seen via the lenses of President Paul Biya, Cameroon recorded growth rate of 3.8% in 2024, and this year the projected growth rate is 4.1%. To economist Edmond Kouyaté, the economic growth figures are far-fetched.
When you announce a growth rate of 3.8%, for instance, for the year 2024, how can Cameroonians quantify it? How can they measure it in terms of their daily life? How do you, make Cameroon to understand that we are going to, get a growth rate of 4.1% in 2025? Based on which investment? Because to gain some growth, you need to invest in some sectors like agriculture, mining, industries, and so on. What our projection in terms of investment in this various sector? Do we have some in Cameroon? I'm afraid no. Instead of talking of the growth rate in relative value, it is better to talk of the effect of the growth.
Other figures in President Biya's end-of-year message generating controversies are those of the inflation rate, presenting a situation described by observers as a paradox of drop from 7.4% in 2023 to 5% last year and a projection of 4% this year in the context of increasing prices of basic commodities.
Prices in the market has been increasing gradually right from 2020 up to 2024, and these prices has never gone down. If I take for instance the price of rice in the market, we moved from 400 to 500, from 500 to 600, and today I'm afraid we are 700 per kilogram of rice. And how do you explain to Cameroonians that the inflation has dropped from 7% to 5%, and you are projecting a rate of 4% in 2025?
The government is therefore urged to emphasize the impact of governance on the population.
And now let's take news in retrospect. It is 3 months already since the DO of Idabato subdivision in the Ntian division of the Southwest region was abducted by pirates from Nigeria. Despite pleas from Iwani Roland and his family for help from the government to save his life, they have only had silence, as the authorities reminded the DO's wife, Iwane Rose, that the state does not negotiate with terrorists. The family is still helplessly disturbed while the Dio is still in captivity. Innocent Asset takes us back in retrospect of the Dio's abduction.
Boom, boom, when they forced the back door, enter.
It was at exactly 2 a.m. October 1, 2024 that Ewane Roland, Divisional Officer of Idabato Subdivision, Zan Division of the Southwest Region, was abducted from his home by heavily armed men suspected to be pirates from neighboring Federal Republic of Nigeria. January 1, 2025 makes exactly 3 months that he is enduring torture pains in captivity as the abductors request for ransom yet to be paid by the abandoned family of the divisional officer. In a video that went viral on social media, the Joe could be seen crying and begging persons of goodwill and state authorities to raise the ransom of $5 million requested by his abductors in order to save his life. On Tuesday, October 8, 2024, Governor Bernardo Calabilai of the Southwest Region held an emergency meeting grouping administrative, traditional, local, and religious authorities, during which he described the Joe's kidnap as unacceptable. He ordered indigents and foreigners living in Idabato to ensure the safe return of the divisional officer. He had also accused Nigerian businessmen who, according to him, refused to comply with Cameroonian laws by evading taxes to have aided pirates in the Dio's abduction. Governor Bernard had also issued a 72-hour ultimatum for the Dio to be freed. If not, will ensure a lockdown of the town. Nothing happened after the deadline elapsed and the Dio still in captivity. 50 days after Ewane's abduction, the government maintained a provocative silence which forced the family and Cameroonians to believe that Yaoundé does not care about the life of the civil servant. Ewane Rose, wife of the kidnapped Dio, had disclosed the abductors phoned her severally and she pleaded she could not raise the ransom. Even when the ransom was dropped from $5 million to $700,000 on November 7, the family still faces difficulties raising the money to save the Dio's life. Even after begging help from the Nzan SDO, Ewane Rose was reminded the government does not negotiate with terrorists. The Nzan SDO instructed her to tell the pirates this. Till date, the state is silent and the Dio abandoned in the captivity of the pirates. It should be recalled, on Tuesday, October 1, 2024, the senior divisional officer for the Nzan Division appealed to the Consul General of Nigeria to collaborate with the Nigerian authorities for the release of the divisional officer. 3 months after, no positive fruit, leaving the family of Ewane Roland helpless and worried.
In news south of Cameroon, we take you to neighboring Gabon. In his end-of-year address to his nation, Gabon's President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema unveiled significant infrastructural projects which included a port, a railway, and a dam, which are expected to create close to 2,000 jobs in Gabon. He also called for unity in building an equitable and prosperous Gabon. Lucy Liengu is here on our foreign page roundup.
On December 31, 2024, President Brice Clotaire Oligui Nguema delivered a speech reflecting on his 16 months in power, highlighting key achievements and future plans for Gabon. He emphasized on restoration of peace, national unity, and social justice, along with a commitment to fighting corruption and ensuring equitable wealth distribution.
De votre attachement aux valeurs républicaines.
The president announced that 2025 will see the end of the transition with free and transparent elections, urging citizens to register and vote.
Exerçant ainsi son devoir civique.
Sénégalaise, Sénégalais. While in Senegal, President Bassirou Diomaye Faye, in his end-of-year address on December 31st, reflected on the year and shared his vision for the future.
De santé et de prospérité.
He expressed hopes for peace, health, and prosperity for all Senegalese, while honoring those who passed away during the year. He equally emphasized the removal of foreign military bases by 2025 in his speech to the nation December 31st.
Présence militaire des pays étrangers au Sénégal dès 2025.
Furthermore, Faye announced key initiatives including measures to combat corruption, governance reforms, and the launch of the Diomaye Plan Casamance aimed at consolidating peace in the region. Lastly, in Côte d'Ivoire, President Alassane Ouattara highlighted the progress made since 2011, announcing the withdrawal of French army in 2025 from the country. In healthcare, essential infrastructures such as the Abobo University Hospital and the Bouaké Cardiology Institute have been established. The community health insurance now covers 16 million citizens with benefits for farmers starting in 2025.
Thank you, Lissy. And that report brings us to the end of this edition of the news. Thank you, viewers, for always being with us. Thank you for your confidence. Our programs continue. Equinoxe will be yours. That would be at 7 p.m. And the news in the French language comes up at 8 p.m. Enjoy the rest of your weekend in the company of interesting programs on Equinoxe Television. Bye-bye for now.